One of the biggest surprises I see in real estate is when a client discovers, usually too late, that their intended use for a property isn't actually permitted under zoning. These are the kind of issues that don't show up in a glossy marketing brochure, but they can make or break a deal. The good news is, if you look carefully during due diligence, you can often catch these problems early before they become very expensive mistakes. A recent example involved a business owner exploring the purchase of land for a new operation. On paper, the property looked perfect, the right size, the right location, and even a history of prior approvals for a different use. The buyer was excited, the seller was motivated, and everything seemed to be moving quickly toward closing. But as we dug into the title work and zoning information, we uncovered a major challenge. Some of the aspects of the client's plan were indeed permitted by right, but other equally important parts of their intended use would trigger and require special approvals. Without those approvals, the buyer could have closed on the property only to discover they weren't legally allowed to operate the business as planned. That is the kind of trap that can lead to an enforcement action, fines, and sunk costs. Because this came up during due diligence, the client still had options. We stepped back, reviewed the zoning ordinance in detail, and arranged a meeting with local planning staff. The goal was to clarify exactly what was allowed today, what might be possible with administrative adjustments, and what would require more formal applications, such as a conditional use permit or a special exception. We also looked at whether prior approvals could be modified instead of starting the process completely from scratch. That gave the client a clear roadmap for how to move forward. In the end, identifying the issue early allowed the client to make an informed decision. They were able to adjust their strategy, budget for the necessary approvals, and approach the deal with eyes wide open. What could have been a costly surprise turned into a manageable process with a clear path forward. That's why zoning and entitlement review is such a critical part of real estate due diligence. It's not just about whether the property looks good or whether the purchase price makes sense. It's about whether you can actually use the property the way you intended to. My role as counsel is to help clients uncover those hidden issues, translate the legal requirements into practical business decisions, and ultimately protect their investment so they can move forward with confidence.